So I want to show you just some basic things using the text tool in Photoshop because it's time to add text to your collage. So this collage is done by a student, and so I'm just going to take, I wanted to say explore the outdoors, and so I'm just going to take my T tool and I'm going to click on the document in Photoshop and notice that it adds a new layer over here. Um, and it's going to just place in some dummy text, and so you can go in and customize it. So notice that when I do a single click like that, it now is an object, and I want to Command T, and I can scale that up. If it looks like it's getting distorted, I would suggest holding the Shift key. And so I can edit that text, and I spelled it wrong. I can change the color of it. If I select the T tool up across here, I've got the color, I've got the font, I've got the size. You can change all of that. So one thing I want to show you in Photoshop is that if your text is placed in Photoshop, you can handle it just like any other layer. You can lower the opacity. You can play with blending modes. Okay, so it's going to do different things depending on the color. You can also go up and apply a filter if you wanted to. If you want to add some unique things, like you want to make a shadow, or you want to make it look embossed or beveled, there's this really cool option in the layer. Okay, so if you double click on the gray part of the layer, it is going to pull up a layer style. And layer styles are really cool. So I can click preview so that I can see. Maybe I want to drop a shadow. If I click on drop shadow, I can select the type of the shadow, the color of the shadow, the distance of the shadow, so you can kind of see it starting to form there as I make some adjustments. Okay, and I can blend the shadow. I can make it more transparent, make it less transparent. So you can play around with layer styles, which is kind of a fun feature. Okay, so what if, I'm gonna say, okay, so what if I want the text to kind of go maybe around this owl and kind of up into the sky? That you can probably do in Photoshop somehow, but it's going to be much easier in Illustrator because there's no type on a path tool. You can't create the path and type on a path in Photoshop. You can certainly warp it and change the shape of it. If I went to edit warp, okay, puppet warp is you kind of pull different anchor points, free transform where you can warp and kind of pull it up in different directions, but I just want to type on a path. So what I did was took a screenshot, Command Shift 4, and I'm going to place this screenshot in Illustrator. So a couple of ways to make that curved path. I can use the arc tool. If I click and drag, it makes an arc. Okay. I can, maybe you want to do it on a curved line or a spiral line or something, but I'm going to use the pen tool. And for a lot of you, this is a new tool, but it's possible to create a nice custom path to set the type on. So click, hold, and drag, creates a new curve, and then I'm going to end it, and then click, hold, and drag to create a new curve. And then I'm just going to use the T tool, the type on path, and I'm going to click directly on the path, and it's going to set my type. We want it to say explore the outdoors. Okay, and I can make it a different color. I could also do some things in Illustrator, like I could drop shadows here. I could make it more, lower the opacity. So once you get kind of the color that you want, the font that you want, the size that you want it, then you can kind of just drag it right back into the document, and there it is, and it's just another layer. And so then you can edit that layer as needed. You know, you could change the color and the transparency and the blending and all of that. So those are just some ways to get some type into your collage as well as customize.